docket 4220 DR 112, complaint and verify petition of Northern States Power Company, Wisconsin, for declaratory ruling regarding the right to supply electric power to the Deer Hills development. This is Mike Newmark, the administrative law judge for the PSC. We're connected through Zoom, and this is public and party hearing session. So we're going to start with public comments. We can take public comments at this time, but I do not see any members of the public in attendance so far. I do see person Trevor just joined us, the Zoom. Is that our witness we were expecting?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, thanks. Okay, so no members of the public in attendance, so we won't take any public comments at this time. We will still accept written comments from the public up until Tuesday, August 29th, by the Commission's website or through U.S. mail. We do not have any comments on file yet. And I'll see if I remember, I'll ask as well at the end of the hearing if there are members of the public in attendance. We'll check back and see if we can get comments from them at that time. So we'll switch over to the party session. And we do have our service list. So let's have appearances on the record, starting with the Northern States Power Company.
Yes, Your Honor. For Northern States Power Company, Jordan Hamiden and Gary Bridgens of Michael Besson Friedrich, also in attendance. Observing today are Senior VP for Regulatory, Wisconsin, Mara Asherman, and in-house counsel for NSPW, Michael Kafing.
Okay, so just to be clear, Mara Ashman I didn't see that name on a notice of appearance or the application, so I don't have Attorney Ashman on the service list, but I'm just assuming that's okay with everyone.
Yeah, I think that's okay. She's in an executive business role now.
Okay.
So,
well, congratulations. All right. So let's move on to PSC staff.
Sophia Rogers.
Okay, and St. Croix Electric Co-op.
Attorney John Wagman, Your Honor, from Weld Riley, and appearing with me is Mr. Rob Dooley on behalf of St. Croix Electric.
All right, great. So I'm going to change your view here and get us to the offered evidence list. Just want to focus on what I sent out to parties and staff yesterday. Want to make sure that the list is correct, complete and correct as far as it stands, as far as it was issued. Any corrections or mistaken documents on that filing?
Your Honor, no, I don't see any. I do wonder, though, should the petition, response, and stipulation of the parties be listed here?
I thought it was in one of the exhibits, but maybe I missed.
I don't think.
I don't believe the petition, response, et cetera, and are contained within any of the exhibits, nor is the stipulated facts.
Okay, is it? Yeah, go on. Who was speaking?
I think I see the same thing you're about to highlight.
Yeah, so I did put in this both parties section and had the stipulation of facts as an exhibit. I think that maybe one document that you're asking about.
Right, and I don't think that was sponsored. I'm not sure that was sponsored by any parties. I'd have to look again.
I think it was. I think I was just going to accept it as a stipulation, so it doesn't necessarily need to be verified or introduced.
Right.
I'm not sure if I recall, but if there was a motion attached, then the motion was approved by operation of law, the facilitating matters order. So,
okay.
But yeah, I'll just announce that everything's in the record. So the other documents, then petition and response.
Yes.
Were there any any corrected versions, or do you just have one instance of those? I can't recall.
I think it's one instance of those, Judge.
Agreed, Your Honor.
So I can add that to the both parties list.
Judge,
Yes,
I see that the stipulation of facts actually wasn't accompanied by a motion, but I'm hearing that you'll accept it in this circumstance.
that's right. Yeah. And we'll just make that clear when we, yeah, I guess we can probably go off the record for this. I'll make it clear on the record once we're, once we're off the record and get back on. Sorry about that. So, the other question I just had in terms of documentation was this corrected affidavit. So I don't know if
We, Judge, I spoke with Attorney Wagman about that this morning.
okay.
I downloaded that corrective affidavit. What it does essentially is correct street names within that phase one platted development. We think that updating that with the corrective affidavit and putting that in would do more to complicate things than to simplify things, because in correspondence and in some of the testimony, the references are to the old street names. So, and we have a plat with those names on there. So I think Mr. Wagman and I agree that it would be best just to leave things lie.
Okay. All right. Just didn't know what was in there. So that works for me. Okay. So any other questions, comments about the list itself?
None from St. Croix Point, Your Honor.
Nor NSPWs.
Okay, so let's get on the record. So we discussed the offered evidence list. The documents we've identified on the list will be accepted for the record pending witness verification. And just to clarify, the list compared to the list that was sent out to parties, I will add the petition and response to the both parties section. And the I did have a question to parties about the corrected affidavit, it was called, regarding the plat filing with St. Croix County. And it was agreed that we'll stick with the original version and not introduce the corrected version into the record for sake of clarity. I did want to discuss one quick thing on the record as well. So we did have a few corrections, refilings, but there was one issue that kind of came up. I think there's a debate, obviously, in this case, but there seemed to just been a little confusion about the description of the property, the parcel versus the tax parcel. And I didn't know if that was a relevant issue that needed to be discussed, just in terms of this distinction, the legal distinction between an assessment parcel for tax purposes and a legal parcel for ownership purposes. If that's something that may add clarity to the record, then we should probably either have a witness explain that in terms of the context of their testimony, or it should be put in the brief to just give the commission some legal background on that distinction. So I don't know if parties have a view as to whether that is, and staff, if you could help me decide whether that's a relevant issue or would help the record to discuss that.
Yeah, and Judge, Attorney Bridgens, who's with me today, would like to give a little bit of background on this to help us come to a conclusion.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, then thank you for the opportunity to comment on this, Judge Newmark. Just looking specifically at your comment, this testimony appears to misconstrue the testimony of witness Bruce. I'd just like to clarify that. There you'll see your notice to Mr. Norskog's direct testimony. I believe that should be to his rebuttal testimony.
Yeah, you're right.
And I'll note there that the citation to Mr. Bruce's direct testimony is correct. But what happened here is there's a missing citation that was errant. And the quote, one agricultural parcel of vacant farmland comes from the second page of Mr. Dooley's testimony.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that. So if you could refile that testimony then with the correct citation added in, I appreciate that.
Absolutely, will do.
So I see you're taking statements from two different witnesses and putting it together to draw that conclusion. So at least it just shows what the debate is. I don't think it misconstrues then the statements that were being made. So, okay, I get that. Is that
I think that's fair, Judge. I think that probably resolves it.
and any comment, Attorney Wagman, on that?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So, okay, so then no legal explanation that parcel distinctions needed. Anyone believe that?
I do not.
No. Okay, that's fine. All right, so we can move on. Don't think there's any other clarifications that I was looking for. Oh, there's just yeah, we can get to that with the witness. Okay, so great. So I think we're ready to go. Anything else we want to discuss before we take the first witness?
One thing, Your Honor, just housekeeping as well. When Attorney Meiden and I talked this morning, we got on file the discovery responses that had been attached to one of the other exhibits. But I just noticed that's not on the list yet, so that is outstanding.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's check that out.
It actually is on the list, I believe, because we filed.
It's an exhibit.
It's an exhibit. It's exhibit NSPW Loverood 2.
Okay.
The entirety of that exhibit is the St. Croix Electric Co-op discovery responses in this matter. And so if it works for you, Judge, that's how I'll refer to them. I'll refer to it as Loverood 2 when I have questions.
That would be my preference. Any comment, Attorney Wagman?
That's fine, Your Honor. I just wanted to clarify that we'd filed that and just to make sure the record is clear.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like it's a Loverood 2. Starting at the page 2 of the exhibit, looks like there's 16 more pages. That includes the discovery response. All right. So is it my understanding we're taking witness Bruce first? So let me just I'm just going to change your screen name so that we have your party affiliation here. That right. All right, and let's test out your audio, witness Bruce.
Good morning.
All right, you sounded okay. It looks like you're in the car, so we'll try to make
Yeah.
it. All right, I appreciate you making it to the hearing. That's important. So let me swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, pass you on to your attorney. Thanks.
Good morning, Mr. Bruce.
Hi.
Please state your name
Trevor Bruce.
and what do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a developer and a landlord.
Did you file both direct and rebuttal testimony in this matter?
I did.
Have you had a chance to review that testimony prior to today's hearing?
I have.
Do you have any revisions, changes, or anything else that you would like to explain in your testimony that might be unclear?
No, not anything that wasn't pointed out. I think there was a couple dates that were incorrect as it related to the additional gas services that they did in New Richmond, Wisconsin, and I believe at XL NSB, they pointed that out in their rebuttal. So I think everything's been changed on the record.
So are you then stating today that NSP's dates on that gas service are the accurate dates, or your original dates were the correct dates?
No, I think somehow in my testimony, it said that we applied for service December of 2022, and Excel correctly pointed out that we did not. It was closer to September of 22. So their date is correct.
All right. Do you have any other revisions to your testimony or statements to make or corrections to your testimony today?
The only other one, and again, I don't know how it got transposed this way, but I myself sent a letter to Darren around August 22nd, informing him that I had chosen St. Croix Electric. And I think somehow in my testimony that got transposed as January of 23. And that may have been the letter from St. Croix Electric, but that wasn't the letter from me.
All right. Any other revisions, sir?
Not that I recall.
All right. Everything else that you testified to is factually accurate to the best of your knowledge?
It is.
All right. I'll turn it over to Mr. Humayden, Your Honor.
I just had a brief question. Just want to confirm that the witness Bruce filed direct and surrebuttal. That's what I have, but maybe I'm not
Yeah,
right.
sorry, Your Honor. It was
Okay.
surrebuttal.
That's fine. And so because there are a number of those discrepancies, let's have the witness refile that surrebuttal with the corrected dates. Just so we don't confuse the commission if they pick up the Bruce testimony and I don't have the corrections in front of them. I think they'll understand that because it's refiled, it'll have the R designation. So they'll realize that the dates were updated based on a response to NSP's filing. But this way we don't have two different dates in play for their reference.
We'll have that done, Your Honor.
So, and for future practice, if you when you appear again in another case, those kinds of corrections should be filed as an errata, and then we can just incorporate those corrections into the final version of the testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. So no other direct questions. So we can start with cross.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Mr. Bruce, good morning. I'm Jordan Humayden, attorney
Hi.
for NSPW. Just have a few questions for you. Just kind of drawing your attention to phase 2 of the Deer Hills development now. Have you filed an application asking for the Village of Roberts to plat phase 2 yet?
What are you considering phase 2?
Anything that's not phase 1. Have you filed for an application for platting any part of the property contiguous to phase 1?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I'd like you to look at, do you have your surrebuttal testimony with you, sir? I know you're in your car and it might not be easy to.
Yeah, I can probably pull it up.
Okay. Oh, there, you probably see it on your computer. The judge has pulled it up too.
That might be difficult for him,
Oh, okay.
depending on screen size.
What I have the files, the surrebuttal you said,
Yes, sir. Page 2.
page 2. Okay.
And starting there on lines 15 and 16 is what I'm referring to. I always like to give my witness sort of a reference point for what I'm asking about if I can. So here you testify that your company and its affiliates are going to be operating as both the developer and the landlord, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So have you executed any lease agreements for any of the properties in phase 1 or otherwise?
Yes, we have.
Okay. And is that fair to say you've executed them for how many lots?
2 lots, 4 units, 4 dwellings.
But you haven't executed lease agreements yet for all of the properties?
Not for all, no.
Okay. And whether you intend to do so or not right now, there's nothing stopping you from choosing to sell those properties, right?
About the only thing would be I'd have to get a condo plat, but no, I could
Okay.
probably sell them.
All right. Or allow some lease to own options.
I suppose, yes.
Okay. Or otherwise divest your ownership interest in any of those properties, right? Nothing
Correct.
stopped. Okay. Now, if you do decide to lease the units, is it your intentions to charge residents a flat fee for energy, or would it be a pass-through?
Typically, it's a pass-through.
And would they have their own accounts with the service providing utility, or would it be your accounts, your meters?
So how it normally works is the owner of the property, we set up a master account, and then the utility company, most of them now have a landlord agreement where we're the owner of the account, and then we can, the tenant, when they move in, they can have the service placed in their name, and then upon moving out, it reverts back into our name. And so that's a little different because I can't put it into my tenant's name.
Okay, so it's fair to say that your tenants will be paying, whatever fixed charges there are for energy and for the energy prices themselves. Your tenants will be paying that.
That's always the plan, but sometimes they move out and leave me with some surprise bills.
Right, okay. Okay, I'll grant you that. So staying on that same page of testimony, you talk about having two separate electric service providers with separate rates, billing, and rebates greatly affects the rentability of the units. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And what specific experience have you had that you used to base that observation on?
So industry-wide, there's a real big push in construction on green energy, and also with tenants, they're very conscious of their electricity bills. And so what we do is when we walk somebody through, we market that we provide car chargers. We market that we provide off-peak charging rates. We market that we have heat pumps on our water heater. We market that although your rent may be higher, it's more energy efficient, better for the environment, but in the long run, your overall monthly cost is going to be less.
Okay, but you don't know if you'd be able to market all those same things if Xcel was a provider versus St. Croix, correct?
Did you say I don't know that I would be able to market that?
Right.
No, I would disagree with that statement.
Okay, why is that?
Xcel Energy didn't offer any off-peak charging. They didn't offer any rebates for having the car charger in to myself or the tenant. They didn't have any program that had to do with the heat pump. Their overall rate was significantly more expensive, and the overall install cost, which then gets passed on to the tenants through higher rents, was significantly more.
So you think that are you seeing that renters are going to base their choices, more on those kinds of things than on the specific rent, location, or suitability of a property for their purposes?
I have 200 units, and it's actually it's been quite eye-opening to me. But more than the location, people care about the cost of things. With inflation being what it is, if we're able to lower their utility bills, we have had great success with offering energy efficient apartments.
Okay, but you haven't done any numerical comparison on what your tenants would pay monthly for their energy, not for your extension costs or anything like that, but for their energy on a month-to-month basis, compared one utility to the other, correct?
No, that's not true. The typical unit uses, depending on how many people are in the house, use about 1,000 kilowatts. And off the top of my head, and I'm in my car, I think Xcel was closer to 13 cents a kilowatt, and St. Croix Electric was 9 cents a kilowatt. And that also doesn't take into consideration being able to use a car charger off peak at 5 cents a kilowatt. And being that I'm in my car, I don't remember the meter fee or the customer hookup, but it was not only in my best interest, but also in the interest of my tenant to have St. Croix Electric. So those are numbers we look at all the time.
So how many units do you anticipate the Deer Hills development will contain, assuming that phase 2 actually gets platted and developed?
When you add phase 2 off the top of my head, it's somewhere in the 240 range.
Okay, right now, those are all the questions I have.
All right, thanks. Commission staff, any questions?
None for commission staff, thank you.
All right, any redirect?
I do not, Your Honor.
Okay, well, thanks very much. You're excused.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, happy traveling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, are we going to jump to the complainant now or stick with?
I think, yeah, can you give us 5 minutes before we do that?
Sure, let's go off the record.
All right, thank you. Judge Newmark, we're ready to proceed. It didn't take all that 5 minutes.
Okay, right, so let's get started. Who's your first witness?
First witness is Larry Loverood for Northern States Power Company, Wisconsin.
Okay, swear you in, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Loverood. Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Larry Loverood. I work for Northern States Power Company, Wisconsin.
And could you spell your name for the record?
My name is spelled Larry. Loverood is Loverude.
And did you file or cause to be filed 3 pieces of written testimony in this proceeding, which included direct written testimony, rebuttal written testimony, and rebuttal testimony?
I did.
Together with 3 exhibits labeled Exhibit NSPW Loverood 1, 2, and 3?
I did.
Okay, thank you. Now, if I were to ask you all of the questions contained in those 3 pieces of written testimony today, would your answers be same as are written there now?
They would be the same.
Okay, thank you. And the information on the exhibits that were attached to those written pieces of testimony, are those correct and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
They are correct to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. I have just a few questions for Mr. Loverood based on the testimony we just heard from Mr. Bruce. I know it's kind of a strange order, but we probably would have put him on after anyways. So the question I have for you is, did you just hear the testimony of Mr. Bruce, Mr. Loverood?
I heard the testimony.
Okay, and Mr. Bruce, if I characterize his testimony correct, said that, he felt there were several features of electric service that XL Energy couldn't offer. And I think some of those were time of day charges that would be less for car charging, incentives for those kinds of things, and some other benefits. Do you recall those?
I recall those statements.
Okay, and did you hear any of the things that Mr. Bruce mentioned would not be available from XL Energy that were incorrect?
Mr. Bruce's statements were incorrect in that NSP Wisconsin, Xcel Energy offers a very robust car charging program where we have several options for customers to pick from a menu of options regarding car charging. We were one of the first utilities to offer time of use electric rates. For many, many years, we've had the ability, and customers have taken advantage of time of use electric rates with various time frame options. We also offer very wide variety of customer choice as far as the type of rates that they go on to. They have the ability to purchase renewable energy as part of their energy usage portfolio, if you will. So we do offer the types of services that we heard Mr. Bruce state that we do not.
Thank you, Mr. Lover. Did you also hear his testimony about energy charges?
I heard that testimony.
And I think to fairly characterize his testimony, he said he compared energy charges between St. Croix Electric Co-op and NSPW and concluded that St. Croix Electric Co-ops would be cheaper than Xcel Energy's. Do you remember that testimony?
I remember that testimony.
Now, what are the two components of energy charges as you understand it?
There are multiple components of energy charges. First, there's a fixed charge, a customer charge on a monthly basis, and then the actual usage. And for the most part, customers have opted to go on our time of use rate. So there's an on-peak kilowatt hour charge and an off-peak kilowatt hour charge. As far as the overall bill, there are multiple components that make up the, if you will, the average cost per kilowatt hour, which I believe Mr. Bruce was trying to compare.
And do you think that comparison was accurate given the components that you just talked about?
I don't believe it was accurate. Again, it would be to compare a customer bill would be based on usage and when the usage occurred, whether it be on peak or off peak. As far as our flat rate, again, you have to take into consideration the flat customer charge as well as the kilowatt hour charge and the fuel cost charge.
And what about the fixed charges? To what extent would you have to incorporate an analysis of those?
The fixed charge is applied on a monthly basis to the bill, much like St. Croix Electric has a fixed charge.
Okay. And in the testimony of Mr. Bruce, did you hear any comparison of those charges?
I heard the comparison. I believe he stated 13 cents versus 9 cents, but indeed, is that the overall cost, or is that the cost without taking into consideration the fixed monthly charge?
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. This witness is available for cross-examination.
I just had a clarification question for the witness based on that testimony. The way I recall witness Bruce's testimony, the witness also indicated that the setup that the developer anticipates to have the accounts set up in a way for electric service that they're a landlord master setup, and then the individual customers would be billed. I don't know if he's specifically set on the individual meters, but I'm assuming each unit, each dwelling would have an individual meter. Is that the configuration that NSPW would be using if it was to serve those dwellings?
We would have the individual metering the energy that the customer uses on a monthly basis in that customer's name. And when there's a tenant change, if you will, or a change of ownership of that property, that account could be moved into whoever owns that particular dwelling or facility at the time. So we certainly have the ability to change between an owner / landlord and the customer itself.
Okay, and would that be NSPW's preference in terms of the billing and account setup?
It would be, our preference would be what the customer is requesting if we're able to deliver what that customer requests.
Okay, so you could do a master account based on the landlord and then individual sub accounts.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. And he did mention something about the extension costs. do you have any comment with that? I don't know if I can characterize it exactly, but if you recall that testimony, if you had a response to, I think what he was saying is that it would cost more for NSPW to extend service to the individual properties.
Yes, and that's a difficult comparison without knowing what their overall design was, what they what cost they applied to it versus what our design called for. So that's a difficult comparison without seeing the actual project breakdown of components used, distances, type of material, that type of thing.
Okay, so you didn't propose a cost for extending service to the individual units yet?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
You didn't propose to the developer a cost for extension of service?
I believe yes, Darren Nordskog, our principal designer, who will be a witness in this hearing today, delivered a cost to the developer for, I believe it was all of phase one, but Mr. Nordskog could clarify that.
Okay, so there is a figure in the record that deals with the extension cost itself.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's all I had. So I'm going to continue with cross. Let's start with the respondent.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Loverood.
Good morning.
My name is John Wagman. I'm the attorney for St. Croix Electric. I'm just going to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
If you don't understand anything I'm asking you, please ask me to repeat the question. These should be mostly yes or no questions, but if you have any issues with what I'm asking, please let me know and I'll rephrase it, okay?
Okay.
All right. Coming off the bat here, do you know, does NSPW have a relationship with other projects that Mr. Bruce has developed?
Yes, we had other projects with Mr. Bruce.
All right, so some of his projects, in some of those, he is an existing NSPW customer?
Yes, I'm familiar with duplexes that Mr. Bruce has constructed utilizing our natural gas service.
Okay, so he'd be familiar with your billing structure, hookup fees, generally, getting projects rolling, and how NSPW invoices for those?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to kind of walk through a little bit of your testimony and just clarify a couple of issues with what you pre-filed.
Okay.
I'm going to direct your attention to your direct testimony, if I could, please. Page 3, to be precise.
Take a break. I'm just going to get that back on the screen. So I just want to get off the record for a second. So I'm sorry about kind of flipping the screen around a little bit here. Reason for that is I'm trying to capture the witness who's speaking without a microphone for the live stream, and the only way to do that is to spotlight that person, which means that person just takes up the whole screen for you guys. That's one of the tricks of the trade here that doesn't really work when we have multiple people using one microphone. But so I have to stop the screen share so that you can all see each other. But we'll put that back on, and I'm going to highlight the witness so that we can see that person on the live stream. Because I don't know if that's happening. Okay, so we have the witnesses on the live stream, and I can share the screen as well. So I'm sorry, before we get on the records, where were you directing us to, Attorney Wagner?
Actually, it'll be the direct testimony of Mr. Loverood, and actually we can just go right to page 5 instead of page 3.
Okay. Right there.
Mr. Loverood, is it your understanding that the Deer Hills development is going to be a multi-phase residential and commercial development?
That was our understanding, yes.
Okay. And in your testimony, which I'll get to in a second, phase 1 is being developed first, because that has actually been platted by the county with possible future development in phase 2 in other areas. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to lines 9 through 11 on page 5 of your direct testimony. You indicate that you believe it was SEC's choice to begin service at the northern end of the property and place facilities in order to preclude NSPW from serving any other premises in the area. Did I read that correctly?
Yes,
All right. That's your own personal opinion though, correct?
it is, however, with the development of phase one, that is the northern portion of the development. NSPW had distribution facilities along the border of that project.
All right. Like I said before, I'm going to ask you some yes or no questions. Just
Okay.
if you would respond accordingly.
Okay,
The phase one part of the development is adjacent to public roadway, correct?
correct. Yes.
All right. To the best of your knowledge, based upon the layout of the proposed Deer Hill subdivision, is any of the rest of it directly adjacent to any public roadways?
Yes.
What roadway?
If I understand the question, there is public roads within phase one of the development, extending north-south from Double T. And also there are also, I believe, have to look at a map, but there are at least two east-west streets within phase one.
Okay, but in order to enter phase one of the Deer Hill subdivision, do you have to enter and exit off of TT?
I'm sorry, could you ask the question again?
In order to enter and exit the Deer Hills phase one subdivision,
Yes,
do you have to enter and exit off of Highway TT
yes,
on the north side of the development?
yes.
Okay.
To interrupt for 1 second, just want to make sure the street names we're using, those are the old names that are on the plat map. Is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, great, thanks. Go ahead.
Is it accurate to state that Northern States Power, is it your position that each platted lot is a separate parcel?
Yes,
Okay. When you were working with Mr. Bruce on possibly servicing the Deer Hill subdivision, you said that you indicated that you had offered some proposals and had some discussions with Mr. Bruce. Is that accurate?
yes, those discussions are primarily between Mr. Bruce and our principal designer, Darren Hardscock.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention now, if I could, to exhibit SEC Dooley-1. It's a map of the Deer Hill subdivision. Do you have that in front of you, sir?
Yes,
Okay. Does this map accurately set forth what the proposed Deer Hills subdivision is going to look like, to the best of your knowledge?
yes, on the map you're showing on screen, Deer Hill subdivision is in the lower left quadrant of what you are showing on screen.
Okay, and that map actually, it's cut off a little bit on the left-hand side on the screen, but that was actually a map, the majority of which, with the exception of the blue dot and the green square, which we'll get to in a minute, was that actually prepared by Xcel Energy, to the best of your knowledge?
No, I don't believe that was developed by Xcel Energy.
Okay, on the upper left-hand corner of that map, on the left-hand side, it says Xcel Energy Deer Hills Development. Do you see where it says that?
Okay, yes, and that's the red lines are our existing distribution system. And so, yes, the Deer Hills is basically proximate to the distribution system you see with the red lines.
All right, and so the white lines and grid on the center lower left of that map is what consists of, in your words, the Deer Hills development?
Yes,
Is it accurate for me to say that that consists of both phase one and phase two of Deer Hills?
yes, that is showing phase one and phase two, I believe.
Okay. And it's your position that NSPW is able to service 16 lots in Deer Hills that are proximate to existing NSPW facilities within 500 feet. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Just for clarification's sake, what is your understanding of the 500-foot rule? Is it from distribution point to a lot, or is it the distribution point to the actual building or meter that's installed on the building?
It's the 500 foot is airline distance from the distribution facilities to the principal building to be served, or the lot itself if it's a vacant lot. And there are 16 proximate lots of Deer Hills within 500 feet of existing XL or NSPW distribution.
Okay. Mr. Leverett, I'm going to direct you back again. I got to ask you a couple of questions about, were you present at a discussion back in January of this year where St. Croix Electric and NSPW had a meeting to try to resolve this issue prior to litigation?
I attended that meeting via virtually through MS Teams. I was actually quite ill that week with pneumonia, so I had to participate via virtually.
Okay. But do you recall what was discussed at that meeting?
I have vague recollection of what was discussed at that meeting. I was quite under the weather, sir.
Okay. You indicated, let's see, make sure I have you indicate in your direct testimony that NSPW made every effort to try to resolve this issue prior to filing this action. Is that accurate?
Yes.
What page are you on?
Page 4, Your Honor, sorry.
That's
Line 14.
thanks.
One of the things that you've stated in your testimony is that your position is on page 5, lines 19 through 23, that the commission should see this matter for what it is, an electrical provider, SCEC, coordinating with a prospective customer to stake territory it's not entitled to. Is that accurate?
Yes.
All right. Instead, it's your position that NSPW should be able to service the 16 lots, as you say, within 500 feet of NSPW's existing service, correct?
Yes.
Would it be accurate to say that your settlement position in January to serve all of phase 1 was based upon once you have service to the 16 lots in phase 1, you would be within 500 feet of the other lots of phase 1?
That is correct, yes.
So basically, you were looking to basically secure all of phase 1 based upon your one site that's not located on these parcels servicing the 16 energy proximate lots as you define them, correct?
Yes, minimally, the 16 proximate lots, XL Energy or NSPW distribution, we have the legal right to serve. And the fact that then if we were serving those lots, we would be in position to serve the remainder of phase 1.
And that's because of the 500-foot rule of what would then be existing services that you're offering from the 16 lots to service the rest of the phase 1?
Yes.
All right. And would you agree, sir, that normally anything outside of a 500-foot radius of service would be subject to developer's choice?
Yes, if both utilities are farther than 500 feet from future lots or developed lots, that customer developer would have a choice. If both utilities are farther than 500 feet.
Okay. And that's if they're 500 feet from a parcel?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know Mr. Brian Elwood?
I do.
Is he employed by NSPW?
Yes, he's employed by NSPW.
Okay, I'm going to direct your attention to the complaint that was filed in this matter, specifically Exhibit B to that complaint.
Right, just off the record for a minute. I'll have to get that from. If you might have the perf reference number for that, that would actually speed up the process, but if not, I can find it.
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay,
It's 458692, Judge.
thank you.
And Attorney Wagman, which exhibit were you referring to?
Exhibit B. Do you see that exhibit, Mr. Loverid?
Are we back on?
Yes, let's get back on, thanks.
Sorry. Do you see exhibit B in front of you, Mr. Loverid?
I see the screen, the email showing on the screen.
Okay. If you scan down on the email to the third paragraph, which starts with NSPW serves the electric service.
Yes, I see the paragraph.
Okay. If you would read along with me, I want to make sure this is accurate as to what NSP's position was in this matter on September 15th of 2022. Does this accurately say, additionally, NSPW believes the entire subdivision is considered NSPW service territory as it is a single parcel that is currently served by NSPW? Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Any cross from commission staff?
No cross, thank you, Judge.
Redirect?
No redirect.
All right.
Or wait a
Thanks very
second.
much.
Actually, wait just a second, Judge.
Oh, whoops. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Lover, just a few redirect questions.
All right, make sure we're on the record.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Lover, just a few redirect questions from me. The document that was just shown to you and you were asked about, which is Exhibit B to the petition, can you read into the record what the date of that correspondence was?
September 15th, 2022.
Okay. And I believe the email transmittal information indicates it was sent from Mr. Elwood to Mr. Zelenak on September 16th.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Do you know when phase one was platted?
Phase one was platted on November 16th, 2022.
That's all I have.
Great. All right, thanks very much. You're excused.
Okay, if we could take a few minutes because we got to do some switcheroos here with witnesses. I only keep one person in the room with me, and that's the one who's testifying. So
All right, that sounds good. So how much time do you think you'll need?
why don't you give us 5 minutes, Judge? If that works.
All right, well, let's go off the record for 5. You just take a break, but we'll leave everything set up the way it is. So we'll just back at 11.
All right, Your Honor, NSPW is ready with its second and final witness.
Before we get on the record, I just wanted to, I did do a little gadgetry work on Zoom here, and I did figure out that even though I have a witness, the NSPW witness spotlighted for purposes of the live stream, I just figured out, maybe you already know, but if you select your view to gallery, you should still be able to see everyone in their normal size squares. I had it selected on speaker, and it highlighted the NSPW witness and kind of pushed out everyone else. So just in case you didn't know that, that may be easier for everyone else to participate if you set your view to gallery. Okay, let's get on the record.
And I would just point out one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
That the witness.
On or off?
Off.
The witness for NSPW now is Darren Nordskog, so I don't know if you want to change the
Yes,
name.
thanks.
And how is Darren spelled?
Darren.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, it was R-E-E-N?
Darren.
Okay. All right, yeah, thanks for reminding me to do that. Okay, so we're all set. Let's get on the record. Let's call our next witness.
Your Honor, NSPW calls Mr. Darren Nordskog. Good morning, Mr. Nordskog.
I'm going to swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm? Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Nordskog, can you spell your name, state and spell your name for the record?
Sure. Darren Nordskog. First name Darren, D-A-R-R-E-N. Last name Nordskog, N-O-R-D-S-K-O-G.
And are you the same person who filed direct rebuttal and surrebuttal testimony in this proceeding,
I am.
together with exhibits NSPW Nordskog 1 and 2?
That is correct.
If I were to ask you all of the questions presented in the direct rebuttal and surrebuttal testimony that you filed, would your answers be the same as that are written there?
Yes, they would.
And is the information, to the best of your knowledge, accurate that's been provided in your exhibits?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. This witness is available for cross-examination.
Okay, just off the record. So when you're answering questions, witness Nordskog, can you just speak up a little bit? Sounds a little low to me, so I don't know if anyone else is experiencing that, but okay, let's go ahead.
Can I, before you go back on the record, can I just ask, because you said he filed direct rebuttal and surrebuttal, and then you asked if the questions in the direct rebuttal and surrebuttal,
Oh, yes, thank you. I misspoke.
should they be the same?
It should both be surrebuttal.
Okay,
All right, missed that.
well, that's why I'm here, to back you up.
Among other reasons. Okay, let's have Cross from the respondent.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Nordskog. My name is John Wagman. I'm the attorney for St. Croix Electric. How are you this morning?
Very well.
Just to go over some ground rules here. Have you ever testified in a matter before?
I have not.
Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions. If you would let me finish my question before you answer. If you don't understand the question, let me know and I'll rephrase it. Most of them should be yes or no questions. So if you have any issues or need to expand upon it, please let me know. Okay.
Will do.
All right. You stated earlier that you filed direct rebuttal and surrebuttal testimony in this matter. I'm going to direct your attention to your direct testimony, if I could, please. Page 2.
All right.
I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. I'm going to direct your attention to the footnote at the bottom of the page, page 2. Does this state your understanding that the 500-foot rule, as we commonly know it, applies from the actual point of service to the actual building which is being served by the electrical line?
Yeah, it's basically stating that it's from the utility provider's facilities to the nearest point on the principal building. Yeah,
And that's 500 feet as the crow flies, right?
correct.
Okay. In this matter, for the Deer Hills subdivision, the point from which NSPW is looking to provide service to the subdivision is not located within the boundaries of phase one of the subdivision. Is that correct?
Just immediately to the north at numerous locations.
Okay, but
I'm sorry, just immediately to the north.
Of numerous locations.
Thank you.
Okay, but not actually physically on the premises of phase one or any part of the Deer Hills property, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to page 7 of your direct testimony, if I could. All right, and on that, there's an image there, image 2. Do you see where I'm the image 2 in front of you?
Yes, I do.
All right, and that says Deer Hills competitive territory. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. And on this map, you sought to try to lay out what a 500-foot radius from NSPW's closest source of power would be for Deer Hills. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's basically shown with the circles that are highlighted in pink.
Okay. And at the bottom of the image, there are blue dots as well. What do those represent?
Those are parcels in the unplatted phase 2 of Deer Hills that are within 500 feet of St. Croix Electric's 3-phase line.
Okay. And this map on image 2, does that contain both phase 1 and phase 2 of the Deer Hills development?
Yes, it's the platted map of phase 1 and the future proposed phase 2.
So it sets forth both phase 1 and phase 2 of Deer Hills?
Correct.
Okay. To the best of your understanding, this Deer Hills project, prior to developing it as residential or commercial lots, was this agricultural farmland?
Yes, it was.
All right. No existing buildings on the property that you're aware of?
Nope, the only thing on the agricultural property was a
There were no buildings, right?
Correct.
Okay. You indicate in your direct examination on the prior page at page 6, line 4, that in May of 2022, T-Buck applied for service from NSPW. Was there actually a physical application for service submitted?
Yes, there was. It was through our builder's calling.
Okay. Did you ever actually supply service to T-Buck and phase 1 of Deer Hills?
No.
Okay.
Off the record for a second, Debbie, did you get the hotline name? It was hard for me to hear that. He said they connected through the hotline. Is that
Through our builder's call line.
builder's call line? Okay.
Call line?
Yeah, builder's call line.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead. Back on the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to direct your attention, Mr. Nordstog, now to your rebuttal testimony, page 2. Okay, looking at lines 16 through 19. You indicate in your rebuttal at line 16 through 19 that it's your opinion that SCEC facilities extending to the Xcel Energy proximate lots appear to have been constructed for the purpose of placing SCEC in an advantageous position and cut off your extension of service. Is that accurate?
I'm going to object here just because it may mischaracterize his testimony. I think you said something about it being an opinion of some kind, but I just want to caution there.
Okay.
I'll clarify. Is that your opinion, Mr. Nordstock?
Well, yes, it is. I mean, they did extend their facilities right up to the northern, basically lot 1, the farther northernmost lot in the Deer Hills Phase 1 development.
What is the what is developer's choice, Mr. Nordstock?
Developer's choice is if both utilities are outside of 500 feet of the nearest facilities.
Okay, and if a parcel does not have any development on it and you have neighboring electrical providers, there's a developer's choice as to which provider to go with. Is that accurate?
Well, the way I'd interpret this case would be.
I'm asking you a general question, Mr. Nordstock. Is that the way you understand it?
Repeat the question.
Let's have it read back.
Question, and if a parcel does not have any development on it and you have neighboring electrical providers, there's a developer's choice as to which provider to go with. Is that accurate?
Okay, I'm going to object to this question to the extent that it calls for a legal conclusion. He's free to testify, in my opinion, about his understanding, but I just want to make that clear.
Okay, with that clarification, that's fair. You can answer the question.
The way I interpret the rule would be that the first, I think it was probably 4 or 5 lots that were started construction on were within 500 feet of existing Xcel Energy facilities and more than 500 feet away from existing Sacred Electric facilities.
I'm just going to interrupt. I think what was the question was more of a general question about your understanding of the rule. Is that accurate? So if you could just answer that question first, and then we'll get into the details of this case.
Okay, well, I guess if both utilities are outside 500 feet, then it would be customer choice.
Okay. Are you familiar with the installation and the infrastructure installed by St. Croix Electric on the Deer Hills properties?
I am.
All right, and that infrastructure starts at the southern boundary of the future phase 2 and runs northbound through phase 2 up to phase 1. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Are you aware of the installation of a drainage irrigation pond on the southern boundary of the future phase 2 of Deer Hills?
I am.
Okay. Did NSPW prepare a development plan for providing service to the Deer Hill subdivision?
Yes, for phase 1 of the subdivision.
Did you do anything for phase 2?
Well, when I laid out phase 1, I took into account laying out phase 2, assuming it was going to be NSPW or Xcel Energy serving both facilities.
Would that be standard practice in your business to kind of lay out the entire project when you're going through a development like this?
Yes, it would be.
Okay. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Any questions from commission staff?
None, Your Honor.
All right. And any redirect?
I'd like to just take probably less than a minute.
All right. Get off the record. Yeah.
Okay, we're ready to proceed with redirect.
Back on the record. Go ahead.
I have one question for you, Mr. Nordskog. Do you remember when Attorney Wagner was asking questions about whether there was any buildings on that agricultural property before it was platted?
I do.
And you tried to say no, but something was on there. What were you talking about?
Yes, there are no physical structures on the property, or were not, but there was an irrigation pivot that served the entire agricultural parcel that is now Deer Hills 1 and 2.
And, okay, who provided power to that facility?
Excel Energy.
That's all I have.
Okay, great. Yep, anything else?
Can I ask one more question, Your Honor?
Yeah, yes, you can, go ahead.
Famous last words, I know. Mr. Nordskog, are you aware of who owned the electrical line that serviced that irrigation facility
Well,
on
Excel
the premises?
on the premise, well, we had a 3-phase transformer of service right on the property line, which provided direct electrical facilities and power to the irrigation pivot.
Was the line to the irrigation pivot owned by the prior landowner, not NSPW?
The line after the meter going through the field to the pivot was indeed owned by the prior property owner, but Excel provided the power for it.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Okay, any redirect?
No,
No, all right. Okay, great, thanks, you're excused.
Okay.
And so we have one more witness.
Yes, Mr. Dooley, Your Honor, but I didn't know if Mr. Hamiden had anything else on his side of things.
no.
No, shouldn't, as far as I, okay, so I'm going to, let's go off the record for a second. I'm just going to remove the spotlight from that witness. I'm gonna switch our spotlight to witness Dooley.
Would you like me, Your Honor, to put my volume off and mute and let Mr. Dooley have his volume and mute so it comes through clear for his testimony?
We can try that, sure. Let's try it.
Or have him say something now.
Yeah, why don't we, we can test your audio now. That's fine, and see how that goes. So go ahead and just speak for us. Well, look, okay, I think they're doing it already. That's fine.
He's turning his sound on right now.
Okay, let's test out witness Dooley's voice.
Mr. Dooley, could you just say hello?
Hello. Hello.
And let's have Attorney Wagner speak now.
Hello, Your Honor.
Okay, I think that'll work. All right, so if that's the case, we'll go with this. Yeah, that's a good good idea. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, Attorney Wagner. Okay, so let's get on the record. We have our last witness, witness Dooley. So let me swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, and I'll pass you on to Attorney Wagner.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state your name and spell the last for the record.
Rob Dooley, last name Dooley.
And what do you do for a living, Mr. Dooley?
I'm currently the CEO for St. Croix Electric Cooperative.
Mr. Dooley, did you file both direct and rebuttal testimony in this matter?
Yes, I did.
Did you also file exhibits with that testimony?
Yes, I did.
In addition, were you the party who prepared the responses to discovery in this matter, which were actually attached as an exhibit to Mr. Loverood's testimony as exhibit 2?
Yes, I did.
All right. Is that testimony you previously filed accurate to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Do you have any changes or revisions to make to that testimony before you were asked questions by Mr. Hamiden?
No, I do not.
And have you been present for the prior testimony here today for all 3 witnesses?
Yes, I have.
All right. It's your witness, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I did want to clarify one point on your exhibit. Oh, I have. thought I had it there. So we did talk about this already on the record, and we should just make this clear now. It's not quite. Oh, I see what it seems to keep my settings past. Okay, so this is your Dooley 1 exhibit, and I'm just gonna scroll down to the actual page, which is landscape. So I just wanted to clarify, I know it seems pretty obvious, but I wanted to make sure we had it on the record. I know it's already been discussed that this document originated with Excel, and the lines. Well, let me make sure. So the distribution lines that are indicated in red and blue for each service provider, those were on the original document that was provided by Excel. Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding, yes.
Okay, and then your testimony, you added the irrigation and one other item on the document. So you just explain what those are and where they're located.
Yes, the blue oval is the approximate location of the irrigation pond, to my knowledge. And the green square or rectangle is the approximate location of a junction box that would service that service.
Okay, so to my eyes, I see two green boxes. So are they both the same, or is that another indicating something else? So there's a green box just to the northeast.
That is the green box that I am referencing.
Okay, and kind of looks like a green box up higher to the north, right, just north of the major part of the new development. That's not what you're talking about.
No, that is nothing that we added.
Okay, all right, thanks. Okay, all right, so with that, we can have cross. We'll start with the complainant and petitioner.
Good morning, Mr. Dooley. I'm Jordan Hamadin, representing NSPW.
Good morning.
Good morning. I've got a few questions for you today. So is it accurate then that you were the St. Croix Electric Co-op representative involved in preparing the cooperative's responses to NSPW's discovery request?
Yes.
Okay. And Judge, I'd like us to bring up Exhibit NSPW Love Route 2, which contains those responses I just referred to. And I'd like to go to Exhibit C of those responses, page 11.
That must be the first page of C.
That is, right. And so we go down, and I don't know if it's page 11 of the PDF. But
Yeah.
it's the first illustration. You have to scroll down a bit. Yeah, it's that one. And maybe perhaps we could orient it 90 degrees to the left. There we go. You see this this illustration, Mr. Dooley?
Yes, I do.
Can you describe what it is?
This is the current installation of our electrical facilities to serve the entirety of the Deer Hills development.
Okay, and it depicts roughly the same geographical area, doesn't it, that of the map that the judge just asked you about?
Correct.
Now, I'm a little confused about the green box on that previous map you were just talking to the judge about. Where would it be on this illustration?
It would be right next to the future irrigation service.
Okay.
On the.
And what do you mean by a future irrigation service?
Irrigation service for the pond that I understand was part of phase 1 is to be installed at that location, and currently they are completing the irrigation pond, so we have not installed the service itself as of yet.
Okay, I've heard this pond referred to alternatively as a retention pond, and now I see it's labeled irrigation pond. Can you help me understand which it is, or does it mean the same thing?
To my understanding, it is a retention/irrigation pond to be used for groundwater as well as future pumping for the irrigation to the common areas in the Deer Hills development.
Now, all of the dotted lines running north from that east-west underground three-phase line depict St. Croix Electric Co-op's facilities, correct?
Correct.
Except for the ones that are in red, correct?
No, that is incorrect.
Okay, what's the distinction between red and blue here?
The colors are different phases off of the three-phase to split the load in that development.
And I'm correct, isn't it, that all of these facilities, except with respect to the three-phase line, showed it as a dotted line south of the pond, that all of those facilities depicted here were constructed after September 15th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'd like you to look at page 2 of your rebuttal testimony now. Lines 17 through 20.
That'll take me.
Can we actually go back, I'm sorry, to that map we just had, Judge? I need to close the loop on something to have a clear record. Looking back at this illustration, which was included as part of Exhibit C of St. Croix's discovery responses, can you tell me which of the St. Croix Electric Co-op facilities depicted on this illustration were installed after November 16th, 2022?
Trying to, if we go from the pond, the line going north towards the development, the black dotted line, which turns west, goes east to west, and the blue and red lines depicted in the map within the Deer Hills development.
All of those constructed after November 16th, 2022.
Correct.
Okay. Are they energized?
Yes.
When were they energized?
In entirety, I don't know the correct or the exact date, but within the last few weeks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we can move to your rebuttal testimony, sir, at page 2, lines 17 through 20. I just want to clarify more than anything else here, but there you state that the XL Energy proximate lots were, quote, carved out from the Deer Hills development and subsequently platted as phase 1. You see that testimony?
Yes, I do.
But you can confirm, right, that phase 1 of the Deer Hills development was platted as of November 16th, 2022, right?
Correct.
Okay, now I'd like us to go to the stipulation of facts in this matter. And go to Exhibit D of the stipulation.
Do you like dog?
D is in dog, yes.
So thank you.
You see that exhibit, that letter?
Yes, I can see the top portion.
Okay, and that letter, you can confirm this is the letter in which NSPW identified and claimed the 16 XL Energy proximate lots as within their right to serve, correct?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay, and the date of that letter is what? Can you see?
November 29th, 2022.
Okay, so Mr. Dooley, at that point, wouldn't it be correct to say that it's more accurate that XL Energy proximate lots were not carved out and subsequently platted, but were rather identified by NSPW based on the November 16th, 2022 approved plat map? Isn't that more accurate?
I would agree that they were identified by NSPW at that time, yes.
Okay, thank you. So if you could, please, since we're at the stipulation of facts, can you go to Exhibit H, please? Now, are you familiar with this image, sir?
Yes, I am.
Can you describe it for me, please?
St. Croix Electric PED noted on the picture and the XL Energy pole along double T.
Okay, do you know when the XL Energy pole was installed?
No, I am not sure.
It was certainly there before you installed that pedestal, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And it's fair to say that that pedestal probably wasn't installed till January at the earliest of 2023?
I believe it was the end of December
Okay.
of 22, sorry.
And it's fair to say that as far as you know, that XL Energy distribution facility that's depicted on that photo was installed and energized well before the St. Croix pedestal facility was, correct?
Correct.
All right, that brings me to my final few questions. Did you hear the testimony of Mr. Bruce this morning, sir?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and in particular, you recall Mr. Bruce making some quantitative comparison in energy charges between St. Croix Electric Co-op and NSPW?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and is it fair to say that in making that comparison, Mr. Bruce was not including any comparison, was not including the fixed charge?
In his specific example of the cost per kilowatt hour, no, he was not.
Okay, do you know, can you tell us, and by fixed charge, what I'm saying is the recurring monthly fixed charge that all customers pay. So do we have that understanding?
Correct.
Okay, and do you know, can you tell us what St. Croix Electric Co-op's fixed charge is for residential customers per month?
$36, I believe. It's $1.50 per day.
Do you know what NSPW's fixed monthly charges for residential service?
Currently, I do not know.
Okay. That's all I have.
Questions from commission staff?
None, Your Honor.
You know, it did remind me, those last questions, that I should probably get SCEC's take on the Bruce testimony with respect to the account configuration, since I asked that of NSPW as well. So I don't know if you remember, witness Dooley, witness Bruce did describe a scenario in terms of the account setup where the landlord would have I guess he called it like a master account, and then the individual dwellings would have individual customer sub accounts. So that seemed to be the configuration that the developer knew of and appeared to prefer, or seemed to be committed to one way or another. I'm just curious, is that a configuration for accounts that SCEC is most amenable to, or is that what it offers to customers in this situation?
Yes, St. Croix Electric offers a landlord agreement. So every dwelling, whether a tenant comes in and leaves, it automatically goes back into the owner's name at a lesser rate, transfers, so there is no disruption of service. It just adjusts the bill on the dates that when one moves out, it goes back to the landlord and easily transfers between.
Okay, so he was describing the SCEC account configuration.
I believe so.
Okay. And when you mean when you said a lesser rate, can you just expand on that, describe that for us?
Transfer of service rate without the landlord agreement is at a different rate than a landlord agreement is.
Okay, I see. All right, great. Okay, that'll do it then. So we have any redirect?
I just have one follow-up question regarding, it was the exhibit C on the discovery responses, that map that we were discussing earlier.
Okay. Discoveries. Oh, that might be.
That was in, I think Loverrood 2.
Let's go off the record till I get that up here. This the one, or is this H?
That's it.
This is it. Okay. All right,
Yep.
let's get back to the record. All right, just tell us where we're at, and then go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Mr. Dooley, in front of you on the screen is exhibit C to the to Loverrood exhibit 2. Do you see that in front of you?
Yes, I do.
All right, and that contains the dashes are the power lines that are installed from the southern boundary of the Deer Hills premises northbound to phase 1.
Correct.
As part of your layout of this map as exhibit contained in front of you as exhibit C, have you also done design work and layout for the future phase 2 as part of this whole project?
Yes, I have.
And is that all integrated together as one big one big design project?
It is all integrated with the plans of the entirety of the subdivision.
All right, nothing further.
All right. Okay, thanks very much. You're excused.
Thank you.
Do you want to hit your microphone
Yep.
off when you're doing that?
All right.
Okay.
So, at this point, we have all our witnesses. Getting someone's audio on this screen.
We just transferred back to my computer, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. Wow, pretty slick. Thanks. Okay. All right. So I think we have all our witnesses. I just wanted to check about members of the public. Like I said, I would do if I remembered. There are no members of the public in attendance. Anything else we need to discuss before we adjourn?
Not from our perspective, Your Honor.
Nothing from our perspective, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks very much. Take care, everyone, and we're adjourned.